So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're following gaming news, specifically Nintendo news and rumors, you've probably seen the rumors and leaks that there's a new Mario game coming out, a 3D Mario game coming in 2027, and this is something we're all anticipating. But I actually have some personal theories, and I've said this in other videos when I was talking about remakes we could potentially get on the Switch too, that it's going to be a remake of Super Mario 64. I know, but that's just weird. But I feel like it's an actual possibility, so that's what we're talking about in this video, so let's go and get right into this. So before we actually get into this, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I have a big pimple right here, and I have this star sticker on my face. Look, I'm not happy about this. I'm a grown man with a star sticker on my face, but it is better than the big pimple there, but I'm not happy about it. You know, being a grown man with a star sticker, it just doesn't feel right. And you may say, well, you're also a grown man sitting in a room full of gaming stuff and anime figures and, you know, stuff like that. And to that, I gotta say, what the hell are you talking about? We're getting off track here. We gotta talk about Mario. Yeah, Super Mario 64 specifically. Or what I would think would honestly just be called Super Mario. I know. It honestly feels like, yeah, that would never happen. But I think it could, and I'm about to show you why. So before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe, that would truly mean the world to me. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter so we can keep these communities growing. And let's just go and get right into this. So to start talking about Super Mario, I think first we should talk about some other big franchises that were also on the Nintendo 64. And the most recent one to hit the headlines is the Ocarina of Time remake, right? So all the way back in, I think, 1998, possibly, I'm doing this off memory. I think that's when we got Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. And you know what's funny is, this is a game that turned me into a lifelong gamer. My neighbor Preston had this game. I lived in a shitty little trailer park in East Orlando. And every day me and my friend Preston would go back and forth to each other's trailer. And, you know, we'd play some of my Game Boy stuff. But he had a Nintendo 64. And we beat Ocarina of Time together. And I was like, wow, what was that? Like, that's a video game? And now Zelda is my favorite franchise. So I have a soft spot for this game in my heart. Even though Zelda's my favorite franchise, though, I always tell people this, it's like at the bottom of my top 10. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just how I feel. Now, we also got the 3DS version in 2011, I think. And again, forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm just doing this off memory. And here's what's crazy. I've beat Ocarina of Time at least 10 times in my life. I have never, maybe even played, but I know I've never even beat the 3DS remake. Or was it a remaster? Whatever. I never beat it on the 3DS. And what's interesting is I think Grezzo developed that, and they're the ones who made like Link's Awakening remake and possibly Echoes of Wisdom. Now, coming out sometime in 2026, we have The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, right? I don't think it says remake or remaster. It is just going to be called The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is going to be very, very exciting. We know very few details about it, but through a leak we got the other day, it was saying like timeless gameplay, full-on remake, and something else. So it seems to be like this is going to be Ocarina of Time moving forward. Now let's go back to the Nintendo 64 again. And while this series obviously had other entries, I'm just going to talk about the 64 series moving forward. We had Star Fox 64. And again, I think this came out in 97, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a lot of fun. I think I might have played the Super Nintendo version more because that's what I had when I was a little kid, right? I didn't have the 64 version, but obviously the 64 version is better. Now, I do believe this game was remade multiple times. I never played it on the GameCube, and I never played it on the Wii U. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't think Star Fox on the Wii U was a straight remake of 64, but more of a reimagining or retelling of Star Fox 64, right? But still, you know, it had some similarities. So it wasn't like a brand new adventure entirely or something that you've never experienced before. Now let's look at what we have coming this month. We have a brand new Star Fox game that is just called Star Fox, right? So this is going to be Star Fox moving forward. And essentially, this is a remake of 64. So now that we've done this with Zelda, we're also doing this with Star Fox. Interesting, right? Ocarina of Time is just going to be called Ocarina of Time. Star Fox is just going to be called Star Fox. Okay, kind of a pattern there. Now let's go back to the Nintendo 64 to Super Mario 64, which is a foundational and innovative 3D platformer. I've heard arguments like, is it the first 3D platformer or not? There might have been something else that came before it, but it was the one that did it the best. And it's a game I still play every few years. Yes, the camera controls are a little wonky, but it's still a pretty good game, right? Now, we also had Super Mario 64 DS version, which I don't know if it was so much of a remake, but it was just a different version that had different characters. It was playable. I always hated using the D-pad, so it's something I've never beat before, but I do know a lot of people cherish this version, but it always felt like you could have did something else with it. Now, there has been multiple leaks and rumors, some of them even coming from Nate the Hate, which is, probably the most credible leaker we have right now, that a new 3D Mario will come out in 2027. And if you were to ask maybe 10 people, what do you think that next 3D Mario game will be? It's either going to be a brand new entry, or some of the things you will hear is Super Mario Odyssey 2, Super Mario Galaxy 3, or, maybe something that's been done before, but a new version of it. But I'm thinking, and I've been thinking this for a while, that Nintendo needs to, and probably will, revisit Super Mario 64. And here's one of the main reasons I think they could do this. So we're getting Star Fox, which is just called Star Fox, right? This is a remake of a game. Now, there's other leaks and rumors saying that there's another Star Fox on the way, so this is kind of a filler and to get people reintroduced to it, and I think that's fine. Now, we're also getting Ocarina of Time Remake this year, which is awesome. I can't wait to play this. But we also know that eventually we'll get a new mainline Zelda game. So this is not so much filler because we have the Zelda anniversary, but it almost feels like, you know what? This is something grand. This is amazing. This will hold you over until then, right? So it feels like that's what we're doing with Star Fox. This will hold us over into a new game. Ocarina of Time Remake, this will hold us over to a new game. Now, we're all expecting a new 3D Mario game because it's just synonymous with a Nintendo console, and we haven't got it yet. You could make the argument like, yeah, but you got Donkey Kong Bonanza, and that's basically a spiritual successor to Super Mario Odyssey. And I see the comparisons and similarities, and, I beat the game, I thought it was amazing, but I never really felt like I was playing a Mario game. I thought I was in the Mario universe, but it didn't feel like a Mario game to me, really, at all. I mean, I guess because of Donkey Kong and Pauline, but it just felt like a Donkey Kong game. And when we go back and look at some of the information we've got from Nintendo about development from certain games, like Mario Kart World was being developed for the Switch, then it moved to the Switch 2, and they spent a long time on it. Tamagotchi Life, I think, was in development for 9 years. There's other games that are slipping my mind right now, but it's like a lot of these games have been cooking for a while. So I do think there is a new 3D Mario game in development. And I do think Nintendo's going to go all out for it. But if they were to release a new 3D Mario game right now at the beginning of this generation, the entire generation, you'd be wondering, well, when is the next one coming, right? And I know Super Mario Odyssey is amazing. I love it. I beat the game 3 times. I think I played it a few months after it came out, or maybe the next year or something. But the entire Switch generation, we were always wondering, well, when is the next 3D Mario game coming? And as we got closer to the Switch 2 generation, we're like, oh, they're just going to save it for the Switch 2. And now we know they are, in fact, saving it for the Switch 2. But do we put it out at the beginning of the Switch 2 generation? And I know 2027 would technically be, 2 years after the Switch 2 came out? So it's not right at the beginning, but it's still, early in the Switch 2's life. They put it out in 2027, and then what do we expect? Them to put another one out on the Switch 2 generation? Or do we say, you know what? That's awesome. Now we have to wait for the Switch 3 to come out to get a new 3D Mario game? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially with the way games have been coming out, the titles Nintendo's releasing. I just think it makes more sense to put out something else that is a 3D Mario game, and then everybody's happy. It's interesting. It's something kind of a reimagining, that we're seeing with all the other big games that were on the Nintendo 64. Super Mario 64, man. New graphics, better camera controls, gameplay that's similar to Super Mario Odyssey, maybe some bonus levels, new textures, and just everything, just a reimagining of the game. And they could literally just call it Super Mario, right? We have Super Mario Bros., Super Mario World, Super Mario this, that, and the third. But it is just a game where you play as Super Mario. I mean, there's Yoshi on top of the castle, but Super Mario. Now I know this is a big if, but if this does happen and this game came out in 2027, that would hold us over. And then maybe in 2028, we get another 2D Mario game or some more Mario spin-offs. Now that I'm thinking about this, I think we already know the release date of the next Mario movie through Illumination's schedule or whatever. And I think it's April of 2028. So a new Mario movie could come out in April of 2028. And then maybe November of that year, a new 3D Mario game could release, right? I think I even covered a leak maybe yesterday or the day before saying that a new Mario game is coming out in November of 2027. That could possibly be a remake of 64. That's November of 2027. A new movie would come out April of 2028. And then November of 2028, a new 3D Mario game, or maybe early 2029. And that sounds so crazy because we're in 2026 right now, but time is flying, man. So yes, I get it. This is just a theory. This is no evidence based on any of this stuff. But I just feel like this is something that could happen that nobody is talking about. And you're probably saying, yeah, that's just not going to happen. But if I would have told you January of this year that Star Fox is getting remade for the third time, you would have been like, no, it's just not going to happen. Ocarina of Time remake had been a rumor for quite a while, but nobody really believed it because there was no real evidence for it. And now that's happening as well. So time will tell on all this, man. But sometimes you just got to go with your gut feeling. And I feel like this is something I could honestly see happening. A new remake of Super Mario 64 that is in fact just called Super Mario. But ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about this? Because your opinion matters most. So in the comments below, I would love to hear from you. And if you made it to this part of the video, if you could do me a favor, hit a like and subscribe on the way out. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter on the way out. And consider becoming a channel member because we stream every single Thursday, 8 p.m. right here on this channel. We just hang out, play games, and talk about, well, gaming stuff. And you guys know me. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Peace.